Yeah, that sounds
got really bad food. One thing we had is we did not have a bad for years. And there was wine every meal. I mean, they gave really good service.
So we hiked, my husband and I hiked the Altamayas, and the Dolomites. They go north-south, and there's 6 routes, but you go to the Fugios, I mean, some of them are rough, but the food is rough. And that's fun, but you didn't have to carry so much. It's rough. It's rugged. Rugged terrain. Not as hard as me.
I will tell you this. By the time we got to the last province, I mean, it's the each time we've ever been stable. Thank you for that. It was raining. Proud father. But we somehow missed almost all of the rain. Around. I hope you vote for mid early before. Oh yeah.
How are you?
He's brought up the right way.
I know. That's what I just said. Like, no turning. Yeah, it's and all the conflict going on, like in the virtual world, no one shows up. I was thinking. That's what's worrisome.
Somehow.
This is ridiculous.
Somehow we did that.
But they don't want to know.
Yeah.
That's okay.
We had to go up to the mountain pass.
Yeah. Wow, oh, that's good. That's high.
And then when we got to Fugia, it was rolling hills. And by the time we got there, we were in such good shape that we used to just load around.
Definitely. It was fun.
It was beautiful.
Was it you and one person?
I was with my brother.
Your brother and your sister? That's so sweet. I love that you guys did that. Like, wow. Nice.
Getting to Santiago was like that was a great, such a great.
Was that the end?
That's the end.
Yeah.
And we got to the square, the town square that's right where the cathedral is. And came around the corner, walked out there, looked at the cathedral, and it was completely covered with scaffolding. It was under roof. Yeah, because the next year was going to be a whole year, and I wanted it to be good for that. So, but we stayed in the right there at a 5-star hotel.
Thank you everyone for being here. On behalf of the Friends of the Raleigh Library, welcome to the 2025 Candidates Night. Thank you to the candidates for being here. Thank you to Pine Grove School for hosting. Thank you to Raleigh Community Media for recording and broadcasting this event live. We are grateful for the candidates willing to run for local office and all they do to support our community. Thank you to everyone here for taking time out of a very busy season to come and meet the candidates. Please keep in mind, this is a chance to meet the candidates. It is not a debate. There are going to be some ground rules. So I'm going to introduce our moderator, Anthony Marinello. His family's been in Raleigh for 27 years. And I will just mention that the election is next Tuesday, May 13th, from 12 noon to 8 p.m. across the street at St. Mary's. Thank you.
Dan, thank you very much for that introduction. First and foremost, I believe we're being broadcast live tonight, so all of your images might be out there in the public. Second one, I always like to make some points of safety. We have 2 exits in the back and 1 to the left, so in case of an emergency, we know where to go. That's my engineering background. So, again, thank opportunity to serve the town of Raleigh tonight, and let's thank the Friends of the Raleigh Library for helping to orchestrate this whole time. Local government is what manages a significant amount of the services that support us every day, whether we realize it or not. And those roles are not easy. These candidates tonight are here to introduce themselves and present what drives them to take on these roles and impact the future of our town. As a person that has been involved and volunteered in several community activities, I know I'm interested in meeting and listening to each of these candidates. The format will be as follows. Candidates will be introduced and asked if they would like to make an opening statement. They will have up to 3 minutes. Means you don't have to take it all. Following the introductions, we'll have time for questions. We plan to have up to 60 minutes for questions, so we're hoping that we might be able to finish by about 8:30. For the question and answer portion, there will be 2 minutes for each candidate to answer. In contested races, all candidates will have the chance to respond. Each audience member will have only one question until everyone has their turn, and then they may ask a second. We ask that you form a queue behind the microphone or step up after the question's been asked and the microphone frees up. With that, I'd like to begin introducing the candidates, and they're in order of the ballot. Candidates, I just want to make sure you're aware of the wires as you walk up here to make sure you maintain your safety. So first I'd like to introduce Christine Nealon for the selectmen and our incumbent.
Christine, you can just keep an eye right here.
I'll do my best.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been a resident of Raleigh for 42 years. My husband John was born and raised in Raleigh, and we have been married for almost 40 years. We raised 3 wonderful children in this community, all of whom attended Pine Grove School and are graduates of Triton Regional High School. John and I share the joy of being grandparents to our twin granddaughters, Addison and Nora, who will be attending Pine Grove School in a few short years. They will be 10 months old next week. My professional background includes a long distinguished career in education spanning 37 years. 32 and a half of those years were with Triton Regional School District, having worked in all 5 schools. My various positions include instructional assistant, special education teacher, coordinator of special education, evaluation team chairperson, principal at Salisbury Elementary School, director of special education, administrator of pupil services, and principal at Pine Grove School, finally retiring in 2020. Many people have often asked me why I would want to be a selectman, and the typical way they ask me is, why would you want to do that? My answer is very simple. It is my love for public service. When it was time to retire, I did. I restlessly sat still for 2 years. It was 2 years too long. I felt I needed to contribute. I followed town politics, and I believed I had much more to contribute. When I presided over the building renovation for Pine Grove in 2015, I learned a great deal from several town officials, all of whom sat on the Pine Grove Building Committee. I really became intrigued with town policies and town government. So in 2022, I threw my hat into the ring, and here I am 3 years later, asking to continue to serve as I feel that I'm not done. Serving on the Board of Selectmen, I have served on numerous committees. The Personnel Advisory Committee, the Triton District Communications Committee, the Triton Facilities Subcommittee, and I've represented all 3 towns, Newbury, Raleigh, and Salisbury, on the Personnel and Negotiations Committee with school committee members. I was recently appointed by the Raleigh Board of Selectmen to be the representative on the newly formed Triton Building Committee for the Triton Campus Building Project with the MSBA. I have served as both Vice Chair and Chair of the Board of Selectmen. I meet regularly with the police chief, the fire chief, and various department heads. I go on site visits, and I have participated in several community events, including serving breakfast for our veterans on numerous occasions and attending dedication ceremonies throughout the town. One of my most proud accomplishments is working alongside Vice Chair Sherry David to regionalize dispatch services, allowing Raleigh to reallocate money for overnight coverage. I believe to serve on the Board of Selectmen, one must be a good listener, open-minded, a good communicator, and have an understanding that you are only one member of a board of 5, but above all, selfless service to the community. Every member who serves on the board brings a unique perspective. If you have watched me during the past 3 years or have known me during my long-standing career with Triton Regional School District, you would know that each and every decision that I make or is voted on is with honesty, integrity, and a clear conscience for this town that I love. I will never sacrifice my principles. Thank you for having me.
The second candidate, according to the ballot, would be Matthew Grenier, but I do not believe he's here tonight. And I do mention to folks to look people up if they're not here. Just because they're not here doesn't mean they didn't want to be here. Next candidate, Maura Mastro Giovanni. I'd like you to come up.
Thank you to the library staff and the friends for organizing this event, and thank you all for coming. Raleigh has been my home since 1989 when my husband Jeffrey and I moved here and bought a small cape on Central Street. We chose Raleigh for its affordability, the award-winning Pine Grove Elementary School, and the people we met. But the mosquitoes were horrible. We were warned by Jim Trentini. Some of you might remember him. Jim and I both taught at Burlington High School, and he told us about the fierce bite and the quantity of the salt marsh mosquitoes. He was right, but we purchased anyway. We've seen so much change in both our family life and in our town over these 37 years. We had to drive to Newburyport to the grocery store. We now have excellent public safety buildings and a fully accessible library. Our Council on Aging offers well-attended programs and services. The Brad Street Community Gardens and the Farmers Market on the Common are both very popular. We continue to support historic preservation projects and open space. Throughout this time, one thing that has not changed is my belief that public and cultural services are at the heart of a strong community. These services connect neighbors, strangers, classmates, and multiple generations. They foster involvement and commitment to a town. In Raleigh, change happens slowly, as the ones I've mentioned span 4 decades. We're a fiscally conservative community, and we invested in these services to help create a town that reflects what we value. While we can't afford all the services we might want, maintaining what makes Raleigh a thriving community is important. If elected to the Board of Selectmen, I commit to collaborating with town boards, committees, volunteers, and the dedicated town employees. I'll research solutions to complex issues and improve communication and transparency in town government by attending meetings of other departments and encouraging discussion. I will help update our town's master plan created in 2003. My work on the Library Board of Trustees for 2 terms and on the Building Committee was an excellent opportunity to collaborate with other town departments, hired professionals, and the State Board of Library Commissioners. My mechanical engineering education proved valuable throughout that project, as did my ability to manage the details of multiple time-sensitive issues concurrently. As you prepare to vote next week, I ask you to consider what type of community you would like Raleigh to be. I'm prepared to help Raleigh navigate the challenges ahead with a focus on cooperation rather than division. I believe in finding productive solutions and working toward a shared vision for our town. I humbly ask for your support. Thank you.
For the position of Board of Assessors is David Xavier. We'll move along. Planning Board, Michael Sabatini. Yes, sir. If you'd like to come on. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Sabatini, and I live at 239 Main Street in Raleigh, Mass. I've been in Raleigh since 1988, so I'm a long-time resident. My kids all grew up here. I really interested in the planning board because my background is... Speak in the mic, please. Thank you. My background is construction and real estate, and I'm a 3rd-generation builder, while my daughter will now be the 4th-generation builder. And I I understand the intricacies of building, what it means to integrate a project into the environment, and my experience from construction will be well valued in the planning board. However, in addition to that, I'm also on the Mass Farm Bureau, and I'm on the board of directors of the Mass Farm Bureau. And why that's relevant is I understand how to protect and preserve and maintain the land, the farms that in our community. And I've been involved with many farmers in the town of Raleigh, not just throughout the state of Massachusetts. And I can see the difference of merging, on the one hand, the real estate, who need land, and of course all the farmers who control the land. And from that point of view, I have a very valued perspective to protect and preserve and maintain the farmers, while from the planning board side, you have to protect and preserve their right to follow the laws, rules, and regulations of the planning board. For those reasons, I feel like I'll have a very good value to the planning board. In addition, along my way here in Raleigh, I was on the Triton Building Committee, the initial one back in 2000, and then appointed by Dr. Murphy, and then from there I became the chair of the change order committee, which anybody in construction knows that one of the change order committees is probably the most challenging of all committees to keep the budgets in line, and I was very proud of having done all that. They had a 10% retainage, and we only spent 7.5% of that, so we kept it well within the budget and that was for the Triton Building Committee. So I understand the money end of it, I understand the farmers end of it to protect their land, and I also understand the developers and the builders' right to utilize their land. Thank you very much. I look forward to your vote.
I'd like to call Ethan Young, again, candidate for the planning board.
Good evening, friends and neighbors. My name is Ethan Young, running for a seat on the Raleigh Planning Board. Thank you for being here tonight and for caring about the future of our town. I'm running because I believe Raleigh stands at a crossroads between growth and preservation, between honoring our rural character and preparing responsibly for the future. I want to help us strike that balance. A little about me. I'm a longtime resident of Raleigh. It's my hometown, and I'm a product of our public schools. I hold a degree in architecture from Carnegie Mellon University with a focus in architectural history. I've worked in the spaces of architecture, real estate, and urban design. My experience has taught me how to synthesize complex information, how to mediate zoning bylaws, building codes, and project programs into architecture that hopefully is an improvement to the site and an asset to the broader community it's situated within. Perhaps like many of you, I began to get engaged in our civic affairs because of the MBTA Communities Act, and have found the process quite engaging. I decided to roll up my sleeves and help out with the Housing Partnership Committee, and I'm pleased with the momentum we've made in a few short months. It's been an education that's given me a deep respect for our town government and the necessary process of collaboration and debate. I understand both the technical side of planning and the human side. I know what goes into drafting a site plan, but more importantly, I know how to listen. I believe good planning comes from asking the right questions. How does this development impact our community? How does it protect our wetlands, our groundwater, and our small town feel? Does it add value, not just economic, but social? Community value, to the lives of people who live here now and those who will come after us. I promise, if elected, to hold each project that comes before me to a high standard. It should be considered an honor to build in this community, and Raleigh should be left better by each new project that contributes to our common fabric. My vision for Raleigh is one where we grow with care. That means encouraging new housing options that are compatible with our character, so young families can afford to stay and seniors can afford to downsize. It means supporting our small businesses and farmers while preserving the natural beauty and heritage that makes Raleigh unique. And it means transparency and respect in every decision the board makes. We have good zoning bylaws here, and ones that strike the balance between growth and conservation in a really intelligent way. If elected, I'll make sure those bylaws are followed. Raleigh is a special place. We're a town of history, of open space, and tight-knit neighborhoods. With your support, I'll work to protect what makes Raleigh special while making sure we're ready for the challenges ahead. Thank you, and I'll be honored to earn your vote.
On the Municipal Light Board, Mark Cousins. And I just want to make a shout out. Anyone that was here for town meeting on Monday, if you sit in the back, it's like an echo chamber. So bless you for being able to understand what was going on from the audience. The next person I'd like to call up for the Municipal Water Board is Bernie Cohn.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. Last April the 21st, I indicated that that was going to be my last run for election. Things change. In the last year, the superintendent of the water department retired, and we went through a process for selecting a new water superintendent. And then, as you all know, one of our wells was identified as having contaminant, PFAS. So that represented two changes which changed my mind in whether to run or not. First, the likely new superintendent wanted continuation on the board so that he would get all the support that he needed. And for those of you who've got some memory cells left, you might remember 9 years ago, the Water Board was the hottest show on local television. Thankfully now, or sadly now, we're very lonely at the Raleigh Water Board meetings, and we would really like some company on the third Tuesday of every month. So it's really I'm running again really in part to support the new superintendent. The other side of it is that the PFAS issue is a big issue. I have my own views on how big an issue it really is, but the fact of the matter is the state defines how big the issue is, and we are faced with a significant challenge in terms of ensuring that we continue to deliver clean, safe water, that we get the well number 2 back in full operation, and that if necessary we find an additional water source. That is an ongoing challenge. We have put in place a number of projects to kind of support that. Things are actually looking slightly better than 4 or 5 months ago in terms of the PFAS. We're focusing in on where the contaminant is coming from. We didn't put it there. It came from, we think, some locations around town over many, many years. And now we're trying to find out where it's coming from and then isolate that source and reclaim well number 2. So we expect to get well number 2 back, but it will take hopefully just some smart decisions. It may take a bunch of money. That's our second option. At the moment we're trying to find the actual source of the contamination. Appreciate everybody's support in the past. I'd love to see you all at the Water Board meetings, then you can laugh at my jokes. Thank you very much.
So the next position doesn't have anyone running for it. So it's the Cemetery Commission. If there's anyone in this room that might be interested in running for a write-in candidate, feel free to make yourself known amongst yourselves or anyone else in the room. But just a thought. The next position is Shellfish Commission, and Paulie's. So we move to Constable, so William Wright. Thank you all. My name is William Wright. I've been a resident of Rowley with my wife and family since 1987. I'm sorry, 97. So both of my children went to Triton High School and graduated, and now they're off and launched nicely. And I am running for re-election for town constable. There are two of us, and we don't run at the same time. It's my turn to be up. And I don't know if you all know what a constable does. I can explain it to you very quickly. The constable has a number of responsibilities that are not very hard to do. The first is to post the warrants. And you might want to know what a warrant is. This is the warrant for the town meeting we had just a week ago. So this starts off saying, to the constables in the town of Rowley and the county of Essex, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we hereby direct you to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Rowley qualified to vote in the election to meet in the Pine Grove School, and then on and on. So every time there's an election or a town meeting, I have to post the warrant for it. And that's for national elections as well as town elections. So they're posted in three places: at Town Hall, in the library, and at the town annex. Second thing that we do is we are election workers. So the role that the constable has is to monitor the voting machines and make sure that every vote that goes into the machine is actually counted by the machine. People make mistakes, and sometimes it kicks it back out, and you have to make sure that that person knows that there was a mistake and that they have a chance to correct it. So those are and then at town meetings, one of us is posted there at that chair, and the other one is posted outside. And the one outside is the one who does all of the visitors and makes sure that they get their visitor badge, and then sits at the right spot. And then the other person inside here has the counter, and that person counts to make sure that there is a quorum. And that's essentially what the constable does. Thank you. As being a first-time moderator, the toughest part is not being able to interact, because that tends to be my personality, to interact. So it's been great meeting with everyone so far. With that, we're moving to the Housing Authority and Joseph Perry.
Joseph Perry, Bennett Hill Road. I've been on the Board of Selectmen for a number of years, and I was trying to think of how I was going to handle this speech tonight, and I thought I would wind up with, in January I took out papers to run for re-election for my third term on the Housing Authority. That means that at the end of this term, I will have served 15 years. Well, it turned out that in February, I had other things to do. I was taken up to Anna Jake's Hospital and hospitalized with COVID. And so I was there for 2 weeks, and then I rehabbed for another 4 weeks. And so it was tough getting signatures. So I had only 4 days left to get the signatures all on the paperwork. But with good friends and a lot of help, I got the signatures for everybody to run so that I could run for re-election. I have enjoyed serving the town. I started on the library board. I went to the Board of Selectmen, and now on the Housing Authority. It's been an interesting learning experience, and I've had fun doing it. I'm working with some really wonderful people, and I'd like to continue that. Thank you very much.
The next three candidates will be for the trustees of the public library. Thomas Blackley.
Hi, my name is Glenn Blakeney. Rowley's not my hometown, it's my wife's hometown. She lived here for many years. We live in the house that her mother grew up in. But I do have some prepared comments. The mission of your library is to support a high quality of life by maintaining a welcoming and safe environment for everybody in the community. Your library provides social, cultural, and educational experiences. So we've got a calendar that's packed full of stuff for children, teens, adults. We hear regularly from the people that work in town hall how busy the library is every day. You have it. Your library has a team of talented professionals. Director Pam, Adult Services Librarian Amy, Adult Services Librarian Catherine, Youth Services Librarian Sarah, Jeannie, Stephanie, Mickey, Leah. And your library isn't just books. We have meeting rooms. We have 14 computer terminals. We have e-books. We have audio books. We have music that you can download. And we have the library of things. How many people know that we have a library of stuff, of things? A new strategic plan is in the works, and we're working on a new website. And I know you're thinking, why is he telling us all of this? I believe strongly that the role of a trustee is a steward. The first 5 letters of trustee are trust. The community trusts us to manage this valuable asset. The library is integral to a happy, thriving community. I serve on, so if I'm elected, this will be my 4th term. So I have a fair amount of institutional memory. I am the chair. I serve on the Performance and Compensation Committee. I serve on the Policy Committee. And I serve on the Disaster Planning Committee. So I see my job as creating the right environment for the library to continue to fulfill its mission well into the future. I would really appreciate your vote. Just a little bit about me, because I have a few moments left. You should never give me access to a microphone. I'm a 6th grade math teacher in the city of Lynn. I've been a teacher for 17 years. Got a professional license from the Commonwealth to teach mathematics. I like books. I don't know what to tell you. Thank you. Again, please vote for me.
Next candidate for trustee public library, Karen Zimler.
And that is why Glenn is our chairman. My name is Karen Zimla, and I've been a resident of Raleigh for 32 years. I am running for re-election as a library trustee. The library has always been an important part of my life, from borrowing books to writing term papers. Yes, I've been going to the library before there was the internet. My library card is one of my most valued possessions. This library has given me a meeting place for my Girl Scout troop, garden club, exercise classes, knitting, and so much more. I believe in the power of libraries to connect people in the community. The services that this library provides help people to fulfill basic needs and pursue a wide range of interests. I have been a dedicated trustee for 2 terms and would appreciate your vote in this coming election. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Just the public library candidate, Jean Sandy Masher. Did I get that right?
Hi, everyone. I would be a newcomer to the board of the Library Trustees. My name is Jean Sandy Masher. I live on Weathersfield Street. It'll be 30 years, June 22nd, I think was the actual day. Just so I can adjust this. While I'd be a new member to the trustee board, I would not be new to the library. I have a long history with the Raleigh Public Library, beginning on the old Weathersfield Street building. Soon after that, when it moved to the current Main Street building, I really got heavily involved. So, you know, I've been a patron, a storytime mom, a volunteer, and I served a couple terms, or a couple positions on the Friends of the Library, both as secretary and president. Professionally, I'm a career changer with a degree in library science, and since 2010, I worked at EBSCO. EBSCO is the company in Ipswich that provides software and content to libraries worldwide. So libraries are really part of my day-to-day life. I have some great insight, and so that's one of the reasons I'm running. I think that maybe I could provide some insight and just be an asset. I don't think that anyone else on the board currently has that background, so maybe I have something new that I can offer. So let's see, what else did I want to say here? You know, one thing I want to mention is that libraries are facing headwinds right now. And, you know, another thing that I have access to and insight into are what those headwinds are. And, you know, ways that libraries across the country are mitigating those. So, again, that's something that I think I could bring to the table and help out with, should we ever face, you know, any hardships. So in closing, I'm asking for your vote, and I wrote here next Monday. Don't vote for me on Monday, Tuesday. And please mention me to your friends and neighbors. I promise to collaborate with the board and grow the value of the library for our residents however I can. Thanks.
So I believe I'll just be reading off the last 3 candidates here. So for the Triton School Committee, Raleigh, Paul Lees; Triton Newbury, Matthew Landers; and Triton Salisbury, Aaron Berger. So that concludes our introduction to the candidates. Now is the time, if we could ask anyone in the audience if there's any questions that you'd like the candidates to answer.
Can you just Sherry David, Weathersfield Street, how many seats are there for the library trustees?
3.
The 3?
That was easy. I claim no other knowledge.
Hi, Sieglinde Eichner-Krups. Everybody knows me as Siggy. Bernie, a question for you. So this PFAS thing is so concerning, right? But social media is not a happy, necessarily wonderful place, but this constant comment about Raleigh having the worst water. And I have friends all over the place, Newburyport including. I can't drink Newburyport water because it's so chlorinated. I drink water from our faucet all the time. No issues. What is it with the griping that we have this horrible water, which I don't get? I don't have that horrible water. Maybe we have better pipes fit to our house built in the 50s.
This time we got 2.
2 minutes. That's a really tough question. I think 6 or 7 years ago, we used to always buy water for coffee in the jugs at Market Basket. And our primary treatment operator, once he was allowed to, he began a process of ratcheting down the amount of sanitation, the amount of chlorine that's added to our water. And it's come down dramatically. I no longer buy jugged water, except my wife insists on jugged water for her ice cubes. I'm not saying anything more than that. So I think you're absolutely accurate in terms of the comparison of our water to other local waters. If you go to a restaurant in Newburyport, the water is terrible. You have to buy bottled water. It's heavily chlorinated. Ours is not. Now, it's also true that the quality of the water around town varies from location to location. Most of the time, in Wethersfield Street, and Siggy's on Wethersfield Street as well, the flow rate of the water is very high. We're on a main artery, basically, of the water system. There are some locations where you've got spurs, short stretches of pipe with dead ends, where there can be a build-up of chemicals, basically, in the water. Whenever I see, as a number of you know, I've been banned from rally talks. Why? I don't know. I do know, but it's a longer story. And I'm running out of time. And now I've lost the train of my thought. It's my age, but I am fit to serve. So can
the water's good.
The water. So I was a management consultant, and we would always come across these kinds of issues where the story got ahead of the facts. And there's a myth about Rowley water. It was bad. I know it was bad. That was before I was on the water board, I hasten to add, but it was not good. But we've got some really qualified operators that have been able to fine-tune the system, and we're ratcheting down the usage of chemicals. Thank you. I still have.
Reset for 2 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Chris Fraser from 71 Union Street. Question tonight, 17. I've done a little, I'm listening to the social media and so forth. But where do you stand regarding the 3A project, 3A zone?
Good question. As a planning board member, so there's the two thoughts to that. There's my personal opinion and a planning board member. As a planning board member, we're here to facilitate the rules, laws, and regulations that have already been set forth in the town of Rowley. Basically, you know them as the planning board of the zoning rules and regulations. That's really our job. Our job is not to decide for people what they're building. It's not to create what they're building. They come to us for approval. They have a project, and it comes to us. And our job on the planning board is to see, does it follow those rules, laws, and regulations? That's really what we're here to do, and to make sure nothing slips by. Oftentimes on a project, there's negotiating. And if they need a variance or they want to add an extra unit, then that's our opportunity as a planning board to step in and ask for things. And we can ask for sizes, square foot. In the discussions with Harbor Light, we talked, they're nonprofit, and and I said to Harbor Light at our HPC meeting, well, he said he doesn't have to pay taxes, and we said, well, you should pay taxes. So, and that case, Harbor Life, who's a nonprofit, said, okay, we'll pay taxes to the town of Raleigh. So we did that from the HPC perspective, but you can also do that from the planning board perspective as well. And that's how I see it. My personal opinion on 3A really doesn't step into view as a planning board member. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Actually, while this is a contested vote, we give Ethan a chance if he'd like to
Oh, good, okay.
respond as well.
So as I mentioned earlier in my spiel, the 3A is really what drove me to become interested in this town. And we've seen 3 proposals come before us, and I want to stress those proposals have been very different. The first proposal I thought we could do better on. And I believe the ZRC, which is composed of planning board members and board of selectmen and zoning board of appeals members, they've been really willing to listen and take in input. They've refined their process to instances. It got closer to something the town can get behind at the last vote. And this one that is coming up, I believe, is the best one yet. And I support it. I just want to be clear about that. It's a really nuanced, difficult issue of this zoning. It's one of the most nuanced issues that I believe Raleigh has had to pass in my lifetime. And I don't envy the task of navigating intense, emotional public opinions about this. But it's a very well-considered proposal, and I would encourage people to educate themselves, to watch the presentations that have been made, and to read up on it. There's a great website. Kate, don't know your link. I think it's rally3avote.com. Okay, yes. If you don't know about that, check it out. And yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Sherry David, Weathersfield Street, for both the planning board candidates. I think what we hear on our board are a lot of concerns about keeping Raleigh looking like Raleigh. So going forward, there's going to be building. It's inevitable. We all know that. I know you can't give a guarantee, but what's your thought process on trying to maintain architecture to look and fit into the town of Raleigh? I think people are afraid that we're going to have 7-story buildings and stuff like that. Do you have any commitment to keeping the town looking like Raleigh?
So on this one, we're going to switch it up. Well, okay. You can go first.
Thanks. I love that question. So with Raleigh, it's not just 3A. Growth has occurred in every decade, in every census since 1930. We've experienced periods of rapid growth before. The first one was in the 1960s. After the war, the highways went in and brought all these people, the wonderful people here who are here today. And the second round of growth, as many people in this room, happened in the 80s and 90s, when most of you came here. And I believe that we're at the precipice of the next phase of growth. When I talk about my background in architectural history, what I was focused on, for me, my main interest in that was what's called regionalism in architecture. So how you can tell you're in New England and not in Santa Fe, New Mexico, or in the American South. With Raleigh, we have good bylaws to follow to navigate that growth already. There's 2 that I find particularly interesting for this next stage of growth that are really intelligent. The Open Space Residential District bylaw and the New England Village Development bylaw. One of those, the Village Development bylaw, is intended to replicate the traditional growth patterns of a New England village. So it brings things close to the street, it manages them to be small in scale, it allows for multiple units on one lot in exchange for providing for affordable housing, and it focuses on community feel, pedestrians. It's like a good bylaw. It does things well as a zoning nerd. But the other one, that's only available in the central district. And I think one thing I might modify with that it's a great opportunity and limited in a very small area. And I think we need to look at it seriously. It's not the planning board's job to do this, it's a broader job between collaboration for boards. The central district is rather small and doesn't fit the historic boundaries of where Raleigh Town Center has always been. I think that we could implement that intelligent zoning in other areas that allow for density. And the benefit of density, sorry, I'm kind of going over, is, for me, the flip side of that is if you build closer together in a cluster, you're able to preserve more space that would have been built up as conservation land. So I think those two things have to be together in order to grow intelligently.
So Sherry's question is, how do we preserve the character of the town? Short version?
Exactly.
Developers and builders have rights. We can't be in a lawsuit every time we disagree with somebody. But we have to work with them in a manner which is cohesive and everybody agrees. Try to create a win-win of an opportunity, working with builders and developers, and to maintain our character. It's a tough challenge, but you have to look for the win-win out of this. I don't like what I see at the planning board currently. There's a lot of, using it nicely, a lot of mistrust, a lot of infighting, a lot of not happiness. All that infighting has really created a division in town. I'm not really getting to your question quite yet, but we have to get to the point of people trusting us, trusting the board to make a decision. Because at this point, any decision, even the ideas that Ethan has, which are great, any ideas that we come up with, people are not going to trust us. They're not going to trust the board. And we have to find a way to get through that first before we can implement really good ideas. Now, to end your question really simple, I believe it's all in design. You're designing to people, you're designing to stay in character, you're designing by size and shape. Raleigh is not a three-story community. There's really only one federal building that's on Central Street in all of Raleigh. It's only one three-story building. And so Raleigh is a place of one and two-story buildings. And I think everything that we do, including Raleigh Farms, when and if that comes on the board, everything is based on design. So you have to design to the groups and the people that you want. You design to the character that you're trying to maintain. So the simple version of how to maintain the character of Raleigh, it's all in the design. Thank you.
My name is Narissa Long, and if it's okay, I'd actually like to ask a pretty wide swath of people a question. Is that okay? Okay.
Look, I reply.
So my question is for anyone that's going to be serving on a board, because I think this is more important for board members than it is for individual positions. I'd love to hear from you what grade you would give your board on transparency, and if it is not an A+, how you would improve it.
So I don't think that applies to me because I'm not on the board, right?
I'm not on a board, but I'm running for a board, so I'll start. I actually can't answer the question of how transparent the current Board of Trustees are. I go to some of the meetings, but I think I would say that if transparency needed to be raised, have an open conversation with the board about it and come up with ways we could do that. I mean, the most obvious are just making sure that the meeting notes are posted somewhere publicly and they're done very efficiently and quickly after each meeting. That's like number one. Obviously, like maybe posting somewhere publicly as well. And then through the channels of the library website, and you know, anywhere else in town that is makes sense to post library trustee meeting notes and updates.
I'm going to take people as they come. No, Maura, you're already up. I just want to make sure everyone knew, because not everyone has to respond. It's an open question. We hope they would respond.
I'm not on the board either, but I have gone to a few of the select board meetings, and I think they're interesting, but I don't notice a lot of discussion at the meetings, which is kind of what I thought would happen. I thought a topic would come up and it would be debated amongst the board members more. So maybe that's because people are prepared and have already come to a decision. I don't know, but when I was on the library board, there was a lot of discussion at our board meetings. So it's just maybe a different format. But I think it's transparent in that it's recorded, so everyone can listen. But sometimes the issues probably seem confusing from the outside, and you expect more discussion. But for the people involved, maybe they have already studied it in detail. I'm not sure. I'd like to find out. What Maura said, I would give us an A to an A+, and I agree that there are not always a lot of discussions, but we receive very thick packets several days before our meetings, and people have an opportunity to read through their packets and maybe formulate their decision or think about something that they want to vote on. We're not always on the same page. We don't always vote together on everything. I'll give you an example. As many of you know, Sherry and I happen to be very good friends outside of the board, but we have always agreed that when we leave the Board of Selectmen's meeting, if we have voted opposite on something, and it has happened, we leave it at the door. We don't fuss over it, we don't discuss it any further, it stays at the door. But I think we have posted agendas, people receive minutes from our meetings, and I would agree with Maura that we perhaps could have more discussion, but again, I don't know the thoughts of all the other board members. They may have already had decisions formed in their heads, but we have had some pretty hot debates on some recent meetings. So, thank you.
I am on a board, a library board, and I'm the chair, so I kind of feel obligated. I have to say something. In the past 9 years or so, Pam Jacobson has been extremely scrupulous about following the open meeting law. People come to me and they say, well, why didn't we have a chance to think about this or vote on this or do this or do that? We had an incident a few years ago where somebody complained about some programming that we were going to do, and I said, well, where were you at the meeting? These are all posted publicly. Afterwards, immediately afterwards, Karen, who is our secretary, prints up all of the notes and they go right onto the site. I would give us an A+ in terms of making sure the community knows that we're going to have a meeting and making sure that the community gets to look at stuff after we've had our meeting. We absolutely never have any kind of back channel stuff. If anybody tries to bring any of that up, Pam quickly says, no, we cannot discuss any of this unless we have a quorum and an open meeting. We need to reschedule things? So, Arissa, did I answer your question?
Yeah, as well as anybody has.
Okay.
This is a tricky issue for me. I think transparency is a two-way street. And one of the issues that I see is, because I attend a lot of meetings, And I am, whether it's the school committee or the select board, I am frequently the only person who's not on the board at those meetings. So the transparency essentially is extremely limited because, in a certain sense, I'm the only one who knows what's going on. I'm the only one who's actually been there. I think the transparency will improve the more people get involved. Because when you get involved, then you're front and center and you'll be able to raise your hands. And as Chris will tell you, my hand is always ready to be raised at any meeting that I'm at, because the issues come up. Now, in terms of a process, I'm going to take this opportunity as a soapbox to make a couple of suggestions. One is that at most of our meetings we have citizens' comment or an open mic at the beginning of the meeting. Well, and that makes sense, that people have got a pressing concern. I think equally important is to have, like this meeting is actually modeled, an open mic at the end of the meeting, so that there can be comments raised around how the discussion has actually transpired. And that kind of bookend the meeting with public comment, so that we get a more open discussion, and there'll be an opportunity to surface disagreements from the members of the audience who happen to be there. Does that help, Nerissa?
So I would be obviously a newcomer to the planning board. You asked me to give a rating. I can't really give a letter grade for transparency specifically. I'm sorry, where are you? Yes, I was looking there. But what I would say is there's a couple things that I've noticed in meetings that I think the planning board, I would try to remind them to work on. Number one of them is more like an accessibility issue of being able to speak into the microphone. Sitting far away from them, people can't hear what's going on in the meeting, and I think it just kind of riles up a little bit of, frustration that is just unnecessary to just be able to clearly hear what's being deliberated. Beyond that, I think also that in general, when people show up to a planning board meeting, that they maybe are, we're kind of butter and they're coming and they're panicked about what might be happening next to them, and they don't really have the tools to understand all of the jargon that's being tossed around by presenters. And I think I would just stop and explain, what zoning is. It's a set of rules that allows uses on the site. It's not a mandate. So like multifamily zoning could allow still for single-family housing as a right. It's just you can't go over the limit of the multifamily. So it's like it's an upper bound. So it's just little things like that I think would help make the decision aid more accessible to people in the room. Thank you.
I've been very fortunate in my time serving on the different boards. The Housing Authority consists of 5 members, and they are amazing. Most meetings, all 5 of us are there, and we're discussing every issue and doing a very good job, in my opinion. We're more involved with the state now than we ever have been. I'm planning on attending a conference in Worcester, I believe it is, in June, coming up with the Housing Authority. We have several conferences coming up, and there's much more planning from the state that we have to take advantage of. And I have the time to take advantage of these conferences and learn quite a bit. The presentations are really great. I've talked to some of the state members, and they do a great job for us. Thank you.
I'll give a little fun fact out there. Bernie, Ethan, and I all serve on the HBC in Raleigh, the Raleigh Housing Partnership Committee. And we move all our meetings. We'll have them in the morning, we'll have them around noon, and we also have them at 6 o'clock at night. We move our meetings around to give everybody an opportunity to show up. As a lot of people know, both Bernie and I are frequently on Facebook, and we encourage and we always blast out when our meetings are, and we encourage people to show up. However, like Bernie intimated, no one shows up. And it's very disappointing for us to constantly get people on social media complaining the 3 C's, right? Complaining, condemning, criticizing the politicians in town, yet they don't show up. And I am very vocal and say, get out from behind social media, show up. Me, Bernie, Ethan, Christine, we're all approachable. We'll all speak to you guys. We care about the town, and we want people to talk to us, to share their thoughts, to share their concerns. And again, I implore you to please get out from behind social media. Everybody here is approachable. Everybody here, these candidates, all care about the town and the community. So feel free to see them at a coffee shop, call us up. We meet people for coffee all the time, and we're willing to do it again. Thank you.
Hi, Terry Davidson, Mrs. Blythe. Well, transparency is one side of the coin, but communication is the other side of the coin. So I want to ask select board candidates and planning board candidates how they would communicate what they're doing in a different way so people can know about their successes or their challenges. So what your ideas are to how to communicate better, which again is different than transparency. Transparency, people have to know how to find the minutes of a meeting or know about the open, the meeting laws, the public meeting laws. So if you guys have any ideas, I'd love to hear that.
So we'll open that to the selectmen first. If you want.
One way I will not communicate, and I refuse to communicate, is through Facebook. I pride myself in not responding to negative comments, especially about the Board of Selectmen. It's been going on quite a bit. I pride myself in rising above that and trying to remain positive at all times. So for those of you that follow me on Facebook, I don't respond on Raleigh Talks or Raleigh Rant, and if I'm on my own Facebook page, it's about my granddaughters or my dogs, basically. In communication though, I mean, we have our meetings, we communicate at our meetings. People come up to me in town. Deborah Egan will get emails from various different people in the community. Can you please forward my question to Christine Nealand or somebody else on the board? And I will respond accordingly, or I will personally pick up the phone and call the person back. I had a lot of phone calls last spring when we were looking at regionalizing the dispatch. And Sherry and I together, because we kind of spearheaded that, we fielded several phone calls. Debbie got a lot of phone calls, a lot of concerns, a lot of complaints. We went to the selectman's office and called every single person back that left a concern or a complaint. Basically, that's the way. People will come up to me at the bakery and ask me a question, but I'm not going to put anything out in print on social media. It's not healthy for my mental well-being. That's it.
I'm also not a very good social media person. I don't use Facebook. I did create a page for this campaign, and I have responded to some comments on it, but I don't have a social media presence. I never wanted one, and I don't find a lot of value in it, but I do see that it is the way the world is moving, and I think a lot of people rely on that to find out what's going on. So I don't want to discount it, but I am a novice at using it. I would say that to communicate to people, I would like to say maybe open mic night, something like this. Why don't we just have people come and converse in person with the people working for the town? And you could ask your question face to face. You could ask a question that seems rather simple, and people can try to explain it. Town meeting can be a little bit overwhelming to get up and talk, but I think a smaller group setting might be really nice. We could get different boards together, especially when it's an important issue that involves more than one board. We have a library to do it, we have this facility to do it in. So I would suggest that.
Look at the planning board.
My wife will tell you I have the gift of gab, so I have no problem meeting with people at a coffee shop and talking about the concerns for town of Raleigh. I firmly believe, as I've been watching other politicians in town using the social media soapbox, if I am elected, and I hope I am, I can certainly won't be doing that, won't be using social media soapbox to push my position at the planning board. That I can see is not good. I did not use social media to announce my campaign. I chose to do it organically, and word of mouth, talking to people at the coffee shop, 3Ps, whatever, just talking about what I want to do and my approach to doing everything. So it won't be utilized in social media to push my own personal agenda. I don't think that's a viable way. I think it's more, for me, I'm a pretty much a one-on-one person, group setting like this. I have no person sitting down and talking to people. Thank you.
It might surprise you, it's the digital native, as they say in the group, but you're going to get a fourth answer that's pretty similar. I'm not on social media either, but in terms of communicating, I think that from what I understand, there's a lot of communicating being done, maybe not by the board, on Rally Talks. I know that people do intervene and make corrections where they can. I don't know the best way to navigate that, to be honest with you. I think that communicating is typically done through, if you have a question for the planning board, typically the channel is to come through the town planner, Kirk Baker, who will answer if he can, and if he can't, he'll put it through to the board. But if there are any suggestions that the town has for a better way to communicate, I would certainly be open to listening to them. It's just not necessarily my method of my area of expertise, but I'd be willing to, listen if there's a way that is the best way to reach people and the way they want to be informed. I would be willing to accommodate that. Thanks.
One more question? Oh, no, we have coming up.
Hi, my name is Laura Rickers, Weathersfield Street, and it kind of piggybacks onto this. Social media relates to me sometimes with trust issues between neighbors and friends and elected officials, because one thing might be said at a meeting, and then you see the personal post or the commentary of somebody that's very different and sometimes can be, divisive. So my question is, how do you, as candidates, this is for the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board, plan to build your trust with their constituents in town, because I think it's really been damaged in the past couple of years here.
We'll go backwards this time. Do you need clarification on that?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Ethan, we'll start with you. We'll go Mike. Chris.
That's a great question, Laura. To have build trust, in my mind, that starts with just a mutual respect. You know, to answer things thoroughly and honestly, to admit when you're wrong. But beyond that, I think it's also kind of the proof is in the pudding. Like, you have to be able to do the work and show that you're committed to finding the right answer if there is a question. And I hope that satisfies everything.
Still have 3 more responses.
Good question. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time. This town is really, really divisive in the last, certainly year and a half under 3A. It's going to take a lot of time. It's not going to happen overnight. People don't expect it to happen overnight. However, me personally, I think it's going to take, peace on the board, not aggravation, not arguing, not, this infighting that's going on. I said before that the planning board needs to be able to work with the board of selectmen, with Cliff, with Sherry, with Christine. They can't be fighting. That's why the HPC, together with Bernie and Ethan, we all sat down. What are we going to do? Well, I always had this policy. When it hits the fan, you try to get everybody together in the same room at the same time, and then hash it out. And that's why the HPC, we came up with the idea. Hey, let's get everybody together in the same room at the same time, and get everybody together to talk about their concerns. And that's how we got the planning board and the board of selectmen together about a month or so ago. And that's going to be the same way now. It's going to take time, but it's going to be a process where everybody's going to have to be together and slowly start, talk it out in a kind, compassionate manner, and let every voice be heard. I think in the past there's a lot of voices that felt they were not being heard, not being listened, and I encourage everybody to come to all the meetings and let your opinion, let your voice be heard. And I think that's one way of calming the noise in the town and creating trust. Is in, if you can get up in front of the board of selectmen and you say your opinion and you want to be heard, you should do that. Or come to our HPC meetings, or come to a planning board meetings, and let your opinion be known. Thank you.
I think trust in our town officials and elected officials we should trust the people doing the work, educating themselves, and really getting into the weeds on the difficult issues we face. But as citizens of the town, there's a responsibility to educate yourself on some level, about what the difficulties are and how complicated many of the things that we're trying to deal with really are. You can't give a one-line answer to something like 3A or something like an override. There's lots of hours spent by people who volunteer their time or are elected and have a stipend, but they're dedicating their time, and then they're the people in town hall that we pay to make this their life work. And we have to trust that they have our best interest at heart. But as a citizen, you really need to take a little bit of time and educate yourself or come and ask questions. So it's not all on the shoulders of the officials doing the work. It's partly on you as a citizen. Thank you.
I agree exactly 100% with what Mara said, but I want to give you an example. Several weeks ago, a group of women in town, who I didn't really know at all, reached out to me and asked if I would be willing to meet with them. We met because they wanted to get to know me. They knew I had pulled papers and that I was, running again. They wanted to get to know me and kind of hear my thoughts and ideas on different things going on in town, 3A, the override, etc. I walked away from that 1 hour and 15-minute meeting feeling like I had so much respect for these women and they had so much respect for me. I was like ecstatic when I left, and when I got home, the leader of the group, I immediately texted her and I said, I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity for me to get to know you and for you to get to know me. And I ended the message by saying, I honestly believe that we have more in common than we do differences. And I felt so good about it. So I really feel that a trust was formed, and I personally would like to do more of that should I be reelected, meeting with different groups and having them get to know me other than seeing me sitting on that board of selectmen as the chair or whatever position I'm in. So that's what I wanted to let you know, that I just walked away from that meeting feeling really grateful. Thank you.
I have a question for Mike and Ethan. You both spoke rather eloquently about the need to attract residential growth that fits the character of the town. But how do you feel about commercial growth? Do you have any ideas on that? Because the planning board has a very big role when it comes to commercial growth. Thank you.
I rotated the hot seat. It's okay. Oh, good. Another good question, Cliff. Thank you for that one. Well, I grew up in the construction business, and I own commercial property. I built mixed-use properties. Raleigh does have a mixed-use zoning, and that allows for residential, commercial, and office space to be jointly. I think it's a good idea to have a mix of commercial space. The reason why, because it creates businesses. Businesses are the lifeline for a community. Because when you have a business, then you have a workforce, and then of course the workforce, you have to have workforce housing, and it all intermixes together. So no, it should not always be just single-family housing, not just affordable housing. No, Cliff is correct. I believe we need to have a good mix, a good percentage of commercial property. Not sure on the percentages, but I know it's very, very low in this town. Somewhere in the 7 to 13%, is that correct, Cliff?
About 13.
13% of the real estate in Raleigh is only commercial. And a lot of towns have a much larger percentage. People talk about the tax base. You can't be born on only the residents. So let the businesses who are making money, pay their fair share and start paying the tax base. And don't forget, when the business is thriving in the community, the business is putting people to work as well. So when people should not look down on commercial property or commercial businesses, because then again, they're the ones that you're going to donate to the Boy Scouts, that donate to the baseball leagues, right? You always want to go to the commercial people for a donation, but they're the ones that are going to step up, and they're the ones that are also going to step up and hire the local people too. Thank you.
I think that was a good answer. My thoughts are really similar. And I think where we have commercial zoning, it makes a lot of sense in this town. It's situated properly. We have retail village overlay districts that I think are promising that haven't been really taken advantage of yet. We're seeing one of them in Harbor Light, but that doesn't have quite the commercial component. It's in that overlay district. You know this, but I have no on track. But yeah, I think if people just consider, like Michael was saying, if we can increase a base of commercial development in town to a certain capacity, then it would make sense. Right now, all the tax rate is the same for commercial and residential. And if we do increase our commercial capacity in town, there will be kind of a tipping point where it will make more sense to raise the rate on commercial taxes and thus lowering the rate on residential taxes. So there's a threshold. I'm not going to pretend to know it off the top of my head, but it's it's something that Raleigh could consider. It could make life more affordable for residents, but also a vibrant mix of mixed-use development, commercial, residential. That's what makes for a good community. So, thank you.
I just wanted to make a quick comment, and that is to give a shout out to Amy Palmer from Ipswich Local News, who is a huge asset, I think, to Raleigh, and the Ipswich Local News paper is a huge asset for transparency, for getting information out. I find it enormous value, and I thank her for showing up at events like this. She works longer hours than I ever did, so thank you.
Most of you have a lot of experience, whether it's your educational background or your current experience with real estate and development, which both would serve you very well on the board. But I'm wondering how you would handle conflicts of interest while also being an effective member of the planning board. Because this has been currently an issue where people have had to recuse themselves several times, and that's made them perhaps less effective.
Good question. We'll start with Ethan this time. And the two folks, feel free to sit down. I've got you guys registered in my hand, so you don't have to necessarily stand the whole. I won't be able to get up.
Thanks, Katie. So in terms of conflict of interest, I obviously would recuse myself if it should ever become an issue. I don't foresee it becoming an issue very often. The one conflict of interest that I can think of off the top of my head is where I live, and so it would just be the immediate adjacent abutting properties. Thank you.
Very good question. So, conflict of interest. In Massachusetts has the State Ethics Commission, and then we also have to take that course and fill it out. Step one. That's the State Ethics Commission aspect. Also, in local town, let's be realistic. We're a small community. Everybody knows everybody. And based on which project it is, it can be up to 500 feet distance, and quite frankly, since I live on the Central District, and Ethan is close by to me, anything in that area, we might get impacted by it. So that's one thing. And of course, like Ethan says, then we have to announce it and say, I live within a certain distance, and then it's decided at that point if we have to step down. There are instances when I was on the Raleigh Historic Commission, and it was, could you be, could it be a conflict or not? We just called the state and talked to them. just call the state up and say, this is what's going on. He says, write it up, send it to me, email it to me, and he'll call you back in 20 minutes. And say, okay, do this, this, and this, and you're all set. And so we do have a place to go to get that, to find out. We don't have to make that decision on our own. We can call the state, and they'll help make it for us. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bradley Valley out on Weathersfield Street. The question is for Jean. You mentioned hardships that public libraries have been facing. I was curious, what are these hardships, and what would you rectify these, and how would you rectify these potential hardships? Thank you.
Thanks, Bradley. The hardships are financial. Libraries are losing funding. It's not really anything new. It's been happening probably over decades, but recently it's been happening much more prevalently. There's a federal institution. It's the IMLS. It's the Institution of Museum and Library Services, and it provides funding for libraries and museums across the country. And so usually what happens is those funds, and I don't know how many millions or billions, but the federal government allocates certain funds to the states. And then I think probably similar to the cultural councils, the state then administers grants to people, libraries and institutions that are within the purview of IMLS. They provide grants. And so that has been shut off from the federal government. Now, it may not be a permanent shut-off. Things are happening in the courts, and so that may be a temporary hold, but that's the kind of thing that's happening where, funding coming through the federal government and the states could affect a library like ours. And so just within, the purview of my role and my job, I'm aware of these things, and so that's, one of the reasons I think, I might be a good person to serve and help on the board. And one thing I didn't mention, so let me just take a moment to say that, is I'm also really interested in learning about the board and how they work and collaborating with them. So I don't know if that helps answer the question.
The second part of the question was how would you rectify any of those hardships? You mentioned that you've seen other public libraries maybe rectify them in other ways, like some volunteer efforts or fundraisers, or isn't sure yet.
Yeah, so, and another thing too is we could be facing it right just within our, whether we accept the A or the B budget. So I think there could be some funding, or there will be some funding implications if the town accepts the B budget. I don't think it's a huge amount of money, but I know that it would affect programming and potentially some staffing hours. And so, one thing I think we could look at is, are there places where we could save money that the library is spending now? And I am not insinuating in any way that the library budget isn't top-notch. I'm sure it is. But sometimes somebody with a fresh perspective and a fresh point of view could take a look at something and say, oh, let's maybe consider is there any way we can maybe save something here to put it somewhere else? So, and of course, fundraising really isn't part of the aspect of the trustees. That's really more for the Friends. They are the fundraising arm of the library environment. But I think the trustees and the Friends tend to collaborate well together when it's appropriate.
I just wanted to point out that libraries across the country are facing headwinds from another direction as well. There are many people out there that would like to impose their ideas about circulation, about content, about programming, about the books we have. We have very strict procedures for if someone doesn't like one of the books we have in our stacks, they get to fill out a form and they can have some kind of discussion. I would also like to point out that we do not conduct the business of the library over social media. The incident that I mentioned that happened a few years ago, somebody had a disagreement with some of the program we were running, and not only did they not show up anywhere where it was going to make any difference, but we had a very specific response to that. So, as part of my work on the on the policy subcommittee, we write policies specifically to address these, to identify these coming down the road and address them as they show up. Did that answer your question, Noah?
Hey, Walt Palmo, Newbury Road. This is not a question, this is a comment. I want to take my hat off and congratulate every single person running for office, every candidate that's sitting here tonight, who are willing to take the arrows and the spears and the verbal insults, mostly from people who have no idea what's going on. It's very easy to criticize. I once asked someone I knew who was in political office, and I said, "Why are you doing this?" Because I'm sure you get a lot of complaints from people who don't like the decision that you made. You could probably count on one hand the people who actually call you and thank you, and probably still have 3 fingers left over. So on that, it's a good time to end this thing. Thank you.
We're about 8:35, so just about on target. Want to thank, first and foremost, the candidates tonight. Thank you for your time, your effort, and whatever the next year is going to bring. Wishing you all the best of luck. To the folks out there, stay informed. I think you heard that from the candidates a number of times. Social media is not the answer, but the town hall is, the library is, these people in the room. You got to talk to them face to face, and you got to become educated, because there's a lot that we often miss in those 2 or 3 words that gets posted. So with that, we have election day coming up, and want to wish everyone a great night. Thanks for showing up, and I'm sure the candidates might stay around if somebody wants to say hi.